George Bliss, live from the Berwyn Studios of Buddy Bear Car Wash Corporation. And today we have some special news for you. First of all, we're going to talk about the recently completed Czarnik Class A No Glove Nationals that took place in beautiful Oak Lawn. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. After that, we're going to review the upcoming big tournament called the North-South. Believe it or not, it's the 20th annual tournament, North-South tournament, this weekend, also at Oak Lawn, Illinois. Later on, a very special piece from our good friend Manny Sanchez, Harrison Park. And who else is here but our good friend Jerry Brown and GOV, and I'll turn it over to them right now. Gentlemen, play softball. How's everything going?
Pretty good, George. Don't forget to turn your mic on, Jerry. So we've got a pretty good show for you all tonight. We're going to start off talking about the recently completed Czarnik No Glove National Championship tournament held out at Centennial Park last weekend. Jerry, you were out there. What were your thoughts about the show?
I thought it was an excellent ran tournament and some highly competitive games. And from a personal standpoint, Obos didn't have a best showing, but I still enjoyed the opportunity and watching other teams compete. It was on a very, very high level, and it was a great time for me.
Well, let me ask you, Jerry, you've been around softball a lot. I was impressed with the sheer number of talented young kids that are starting to really filter into the game and are really starting to play up and get involved with a little higher level of softball. What were your views on the general talent level of some of these younger kids?
I saw some really, 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 really nice talent. The Demons, the Fat Kids, Splash, Bushwood. I can go on and on and on. And I saw a lot of good talent, a lot of promising prospects, and the future looks great.
And, you know, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to run you a little bit of a slideshow right now. The order of finish, of course, was the Demons. They are the Class A No Glove National Champions. We had the runner-up Fat Kids. Menace finished third. Bankroll fourth, and tied for fifth was Goodwood and Splash. And so we put the pictures together of all of the teams, the all-tournament members that were still there at the time, the co-MVPs, and also the Cy Young Award winner. And I'll run through the list after this short clip is done, but let's sit back and enjoy. Having some little bit of technical. You can probably hear it as it kind of looped in there. But what you saw there were pictures of all the teams. The MVPs, there were co-MVPs. We had Eddie Jones and Isidro Di Santiago from the winning Demon team were your co-MVPs. Hector Melendez got the Cy Young Award, and the all-tournament team was from the Demons, Brandon Alvarado, Isidro Di Santiago, Hector Melendez, and Eddie Jones. From the Fat Kids, we had Alberto, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Megana, Nico Renieria, and Brandon Molina, all from the Fat Kids. Tommy Evett, Matt Scott from Menace, Tommy Matea. Some of you old-timers would know Tommy from back in his Storm days. On Bankroll, Jeremy Fowler from Goodwood, and, of course, Johnny Heemer from Splash. So it was great to see a young team like the Demons come out, and they really performed well, and it was certainly an exciting event. So that's kind of our look back on the Class A Czarnik National Championship Tournament. So let's take it over to George Bliss.
Okay, wonderful. So one of those names, I'm telling, there's the great ones. It goes back. I mean, I'm from the old era, but these new players, Jerry and Gio, are really, really good. I think now we're going to talk a little bit about the Oak Lawn thing coming up, what we call the North-South, the 20th annual, and that is run by our good friend Danny Atkins. So, Danny, we thank you in advance for the incredible work you've done. I know it's been all over the city. It started many years ago. We had North Side teams versus South Side teams, and I think me and somebody else gave them a name. We called it the Civil War of softball, but people didn't like that, so we'll call it the North-South. So, Gio, let's talk about the North-South real quick, and we'll flash it back to you.
Thanks, George. We got the PowerPoint up. Me and Jerry are going to run through the brackets. We're going to start at the top like we did for the TOC. So we'll have the upper quarter bracket, then we'll have the upper lower bracket, and then the lower upper and the lower lower. So it's a little confusing, but here we go. You can see the bracket there might be a little tough to read at home, but me and Jerry are going to run you through the various quadrants. So here we go. So here we got the top upper quarter of the bracket, and I think one of the best first round games in the tournament, Tito's 45s versus High Y, Friday at 7 p.m. That's a heck of a way to kick off the tournament, as one of the two of the better teams in softball is going to probably go in the losers bracket. You also have Hex there. Hex really started out on fire this year. They've cooled off a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see if they can get back to that high level of play that they had the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season heading into the TOC. Impact on the bottom, interesting story. They've shut out the 45s earlier this year 2-0 in a ball game out at Melrose. So that's interesting. And you also have last year's Glove A national champion line drive in this bracket. How do you see it, Jer?
Well, I'm looking at it right now, and the first matchup, that 45 High Y, is going to be very interesting because that's those two teams played each other in the No Glove Nationals, like you said before. Somebody has to go to the losers bracket, and that's going to be a very exciting game to watch. But the team that I'm really got my eye on, is Whale. I've heard some really great things about Whale, and if all the players show up, I really want to see that game between Hex and Whale. I got Hex with probably an overall record of 10-6, and with Whale at 4-2, and I think that'll be a tightly contested battle.
Well, it's interesting. Whale has one of my favorite players on it, Jackson Perry. I always kid on the live stream that it sounds like a action figure hero, and they do have a couple of good players. They did have a big loss as Brian Barzowski, who's on that team, suffered a work accident, and he's going to be out for quite a while. But they got a good group over there, so it'll be very interesting to see exactly how well they do in this particular tournament, because they do have some younger neighborhood-type kids on that team. So let's move on now to the next quarter of the bracket. This is an interesting bracket, too. What kind of struck me, Jerry, about this bracket is Signature drew the Class A No Glove National Champion Demons, and if they get past the Demons, they will play the Class A No Glove National Championship tournament runner-up, the Fat Kids.
Yeah.
So that's a little bizarre. Just a weird kind of luck of the draw. We have not seen much of OBI this year, so it'll be interesting to take a look. And, of course, Meatball City, I think, if they get everybody out, I think that's a very dangerous softball team.
I pretty much agree with you so far, but I like Meatball City really coming out of that. They've played pretty well, lost a few close games. They're 4-3 overall from what I have written down. I see maybe OBI getting past Traffic and Meatball City advancing. And as we go down to the lower part of that bracket, I'm looking at That's very interesting. The Demons, I don't know how they're going to respond to Signature. That should be a very interesting game. But I'm going to put Signature and Fat Kids together, and I got Signature coming out playing Meatball City.
Well, that would probably be a pretty good pick in terms of choices. I do have Signature coming out of that quarter, but I don't think it's going to be easy. And
No.
I think if they fall asleep, they could get bit by the Demons or the Fat Kids. But I think Meatball City's really the team that if Signature gets there, they got to be on their toes. Because I like that group. They just tend not to get everybody out all the time, but they have some terrific talent, and I think they did a great job with some of their acquisitions in the offseason. So that should be very interesting.
I'd like to labor this point. With Demons and Fat Kids playing a lot of tournament ball and getting extra games in, I wouldn't be surprised if like you said, if Signature kind of gets laid back on their laurels, one of those teams might get them. So the best team win.
Well, what I like about both of those teams is not only the fact that they're young, but they got great motors and they get into the game and they play hard. And I think sometimes we've seen some of the bigger teams show up and not play with and match the intensity of some of these younger clubs, and they can get themselves into a little bit of trouble at times. So moving on, we have the next quarter bracket, and this is an interesting bracket too. We've got Old Timers from Iowa coming in, and of course the Old Timer Tavern has been one of the better teams in major softball, even though they're from Iowa. We also have, in my opinion, the best team in softball right now, Circus, in the bottom part of that bracket. And we've got Moneyline, who has had some success against big teams, and they're very dangerous. And then we have that young Splash team. Haven't seen much of Players Inc. this year, so don't really have an opinion on that. But I think it's an interesting bracket. Iron always a threat to pull an upset, so it's a pretty good bracket. I think Circus is going to come out of there, but I think Old Timers or Moneyline could also be playing late Saturday 1:45 in that winter bracket game against Circus.
I don't in this bracket. I don't see anybody giving Circus a tough time. Circus has so far been a well-oiled machine. Every man has stepped up, and they are the epitome of what a team is. If they have 12 guys are playing. If they have 11 guys, they function very well with the unit they have, and the core group is very strong. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Old Timers play this year. I don't really have an opinion about them, but I do like Iron's young players. And if the young players, sometimes young players don't know who they're playing or who they're playing against, and they just play great quality softball. But however, I do have Circus coming out of there with no problem.
And I agree with you, Jerry, and I think the fact that Iron probably hasn't played Old Timers very much, if at all, I think sometimes that helps a young team because they don't have that mental baggage between their ears where they say, oh, man, this team beats us all the time. And I agree with you. I don't know how Circus is doing it. They're missed Saturday at the TLC. They were missing Kevin Duff, Brian Koronkowski, Chrissy D'Agostino, and they still won. And they still look good doing it. And the only thing that I can say is they just have a real good feeling, and they know what their identity is, and they know how they need to play as a team, and they work so well together. They just function terrific as a group as a whole. So I agree with you, though. I think Circus is coming out of there as well.
How many games has Circus lost this year? I think only Signature beat them once?
Once.
So they lost one game this
They're
year.
9-0 in Forest Park, and I want to say they were 6-1 at the TOC.
Yeah.
And so basically they're 15-1 on the year.
And counting.
And the loss to Signature was a coin flip one-run game, I believe, in the TOC. So Signature playing good ball. In my opinion, right now at this point in time, Signature is the second best team in softball, and they're playing very well. So let's move on to the final portion of the bracket. And this is interesting, too, when you take a look at it. We got the defending Gold Rush Gaming Men's Major National Champions, BTA, in here. And the interesting thing is you got the Men's Major runner-up Hall of Fame Concession in here. And if they get past Menace, we got ourselves a rematch of the national championship game, potentially 9:30 on Friday night. And then on the bottom, we got Flashback, who I think has maybe the best roster on paper, and it seems like the last few times out they're really starting to scorch the ball. And they're kind of a sleeping giant, but they got to play March Impact if they get past Napleton Shooters, and that March Impact team's already beaten them twice this year.
I thought so. What I'm looking at right now, I like Menace to beat Hall of Fame Concessions. I was very impressed with Menace in the tournament this past weekend, and BTA is pretty good in Forest Park with a 6-2 overall record. But I'm going to go with BTA coming out of that little bracket. And in regards to Flash, I think for the last 4 games they've slaughter ruled them. They've had 4 slaughter rules, if I'm correct. They slaughter ruled the 45s the other day. I think they slaughter ruled Iron, and they had 2 slaughter rules the other day for Forest Park, if I'm correct. So I have BTA meeting up with Flash, and Flash coming out of that quadrant.
Well, it'll be interesting because if we get a Flashback BTA game, that could really be a lot of fun because you'd be talking about just a ton of younger, terrific talent playing in the ball game. When BTA is focused, they're a load, and the question is, can they stay focused on the softball aspect of things? If they do, they're a team that you really don't want to run into in a tournament because they're fast, they catch the ball, and when they get rolling, it's hard to stop them, and they showed us that in Joliet last year, Labor Day weekend.
That's true. I just want to see a really, really good game. I want everything to go smoothly as possible, and I'm sure everything will go just fine in terms of the weather, in terms of field conditions, and everything else.
Well, you never know with that stuff. They're saying that some rain is going to creep into our forecast area this weekend, late Saturday into Sunday morning. My guess is those fields could take a little water.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully they're still firming up the forecast, and hopefully we can, Danny can get the tournament in. So those are the brackets. Let's go back to George Bliss real quick.
Okay, well, I'll tell you right now, you're talking about the fields in Oaklawn. All you folks watching here on the internet, on SSA Broadcast, if you're in town in Chicago, it's at 95th Street, halfway between Ridgeland Avenue and Oak Park Avenue, and it's right across, if you're driving on 95th, the Chicago Ridge Mall, just to give you a general idea of where the Oaklawn softball facility is located. 9-0 Circus, my goodness. Duff and Nakanishi have been playing great, so let's see what they do. We have another segment now. We're going to move to it here on SSA Broadcast. We're going to talk about our good friends out at Harrison Park, and there's a big anniversary coming up, I understand, Gio. Let's talk about it. Let's go right to Gio now and talk about our good friend Manny Sanchez.
Yeah, it's their 50th year, 5-0. Hate to say it, but I'm actually older than that league. But
not surprised.
But Manny Sanchez has always done a great job with Harrison Park. Francisco Arenas, coach, has done a good job of cultivating and getting teams over there and getting them to filter into 16-inch softball through the years. A lot of great players have started out in Harrison Park, and just to have Harrison Park out in that area, out in the Pilsen Little Village area, has really helped a lot of kids. Gave them activities, somewhere to go, somewhere to play, and their fall ball league might be the best in the city. It's just terrific out there. So as a part of their 50-year celebration, Manny will be running a men's 16-inch tournament, open roster. I believe it's an A-B tournament out in Harrison Park, and that'll be on June 16th and the 17th. And double elimination. On the 17th, Manny is going to be running the women's city championship, which will be 16-inch, also double elimination. And the women's softball is a lot of fun to watch as well. So if you're interested in getting involved with the tournament, or to get into the tournament, I should say, give Manny Sanchez a call, 773-744-7934, and we'll give you that number again before we shut down for the evening. But we do have one other treat for you. Unfortunately, it was a little short notice. I couldn't get Manny or Francisco to come out to join us today, so we're going to just replay an interview we did with Manny and Francisco out at the Las Vegas tournament run by the SSA. So let me turn this over, and we'll get rolling. Hey everybody, SSA broadcast back on the air live from Amore Taster Chicago with two of the biggest, if not the biggest names in the Latino softball community. On the left, Frank Arenas. On the right, Manny Sanchez. You guys are rocking the SSA hats. You're out here at the Don Glassy SSA Big Ball Tournament. Frank, you've been here a while. Manny, is this your first time out here?
Yes, for this tournament, yes, first time. Yep.
So what do you think so far, your experience with this event? And
yeah, it's great to be out here with the guys. Vegas is always a nice location, and I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
Of course, you all know Frank, who runs all of the SSA Class B stuff. And, of course, Manny's been getting more and more involved with us. We're hoping to bring him in a little bit next year. And so let's talk a little about Latino softball, because, Frank, through your efforts with the Class B stuff, Cinco de Mayo, and what Manny does at Harrison Park, there just seems to be, I don't know if I want to call it an explosion or a rebirth, but a lot of good young Latin players, Latinos, playing the game.
Definitely. So, Manny runs the Harrison Park League, which has been in existence for something
48.
like 40 years? 48 years. And
Hey, everybody, SSA broadcast back on the...
it was little by little, we're getting the major and the A-level players, and they're actually playing with a lot of the older guys, sons, and it's real competitive. It's good to see. We're pretty proud of the league, and it's good to see these major guys and A-level guys come out, and they like it out there. It's competitive, and it's tough to win there, and we're going to keep that going as much as possible.
Well, between the two of you guys, I got about 450 years of experience in 16-inch softball. Not that I'm a spry chicken anymore myself.
You're cheating on the 200 years.
But where do you see the game heading with all of these younger kids now? And they do seem like they want to mix it up. They want to get out there. They want to play. They're not ducking anybody. We've seen teams like Menace who, regardless of what kind of year they're having, they get into everything they can. And, what are your thoughts on that?
So next year we're probably hoping to have at least 40 teams for the Class B, And as I've played in different parks throughout this year, I've encouraged teams to go out and play against the best, because if you want to be the best, you got to play against the best and beat the best. And even if you get beat, you still got to go out there and compete. And there's certainly a lot of teams that are willing to do that, young teams that are willing to take their beatings and become some of the better teams, because that's how the good teams become great. And so there's definitely that interest in trying to test their moxie against other teams.
Anything to add, Manny?
Well, just, and of course, where Harrison Park is, and in the Pilsen area, and it's also near the Little Village area. And a lot of these kids are starting out in the Harrison Park League that eventually evolve to like Light Park and get on these bigger teams. And it's good to see, especially when we see that, and then we do this little charity fundraiser, Turkey Bowl, and everybody gets out, everybody's on different teams, and it's just, it brings a smile to my face, when we do stuff like that, where everybody of every color, race can get together and just have fun because of 6 and so on. And I do have to add that when I first started the concept of the Class B Nationals, that I owe you a debt of gratitude, Gio, because not too many people know that you came and you actually hung up 90% of the banners by yourself. The bunting that we had, you make the park look amazing in Little Village for our first Class B National, so thank you to you. Pat Caputo, who has been anything short of a mentor to me, and Mickey Gillespie, you guys have been amazing in welcoming us, making us feel welcome, and reaching out and allowing us to share the space with you, and loving the game of Cincinnati softball.
Well, Frank, trust me, we're glad that you're involved with us. You work hard to promote the game and to bring younger kids into the game. You remind me a little bit of Mudville. I think we could both put together all-star teams with guys that have left us. So,
had to mention Mudville.
Yeah. So, well, hey, it's you got to throw the shout out there.
Right.
But these two guys doing a lot in the Latino community. And if you're a young Latin team, reach out to either one of these guys. They'll never steer you wrong, and they'll always have your best interest at heart. And it's part of what we're doing here. So, pleasure, guys. Go enjoy the rest of your weekend. The Big Red Machine. Manny will be umping, so he'll catch a little grief.
Yeah, I'm getting yelled at here and there, so it's all right.
But there you go. Okay, we're back, folks. I think that video might have stuttered a little bit. We'll put that video up a little bit later tonight so you can see it. Don't know what happened there, but it just stuttered a little bit. And final thoughts before I throw it back to George Bliss, Jerry?
Yeah, got a little trivia. Solutions started out in Harrison Park, and thanks to Manny and Phil Coronado, who's deceased, they gave me my first shot at softball. So I wanted to just extend a lot of gratitude, and that's where we started at, and that'll always have a special place in my heart. So if you can make it to the tournament, sign up, put your team in, and let's show out a great time.
And I'm going to throw it back to George for his final thoughts. And I think George will give out Manny's telephone number one more time if you're interested in getting into the event. Again, we need to support these park districts and people that support 16-inch softball, run tournaments, etc. We all love the game. We love to get out and play. So over to George Bliss.
Okay, everybody, thanks for watching the SSA broadcast here from Buddy Bear Car Wash. Okay, let's wrap it up. This weekend, the great 20th annual Let's All Tournament in beautiful of course, in the middle of June 16th and 17th, that wonderful Harrison Park situation with Manny Sanchez. So get your paper and pencil out. Call Manny. You want to sign up for this incredible event. I'm going to go watch the women's event. That should be good. 773-744-7934. That's Manny Sanchez. Again, 773-744-7934. Play softball. It's the greatest game in America. See you later, everybody.